The spotlight hit her face as she stood center stage at the Manhattan Ballet Company audition. Her pirouettes were flawless, her extensions were perfect, her technique was impeccable. And then the artistic director's voice cut through the theater like a knife. "You dance beautifully, but ballet is for delicate swans. Fat girls don't belong on point shoes." The laughter that followed shattered something inside 29-year-old Jennifer Mitchell. She ran from that theater, believing her lifelong dream was dead. But what that cruel director didn't know was that his words would ignite a fire that would burn down every barrier he represented. This is the story of how Jennifer Mitchell went from being humiliated in front of dozens of dancers to becoming one of the most influential plus-size ballerinas in America. How she transformed shame into power, rejection into revolution, and pain into purpose. If you believe in second chances and powerful comebacks, hit that like button and follow this channel. Now, let me tell you how it all began. Jennifer Mitchell's earliest memory was the feeling of her feet leaving the ground. She was 3 years old, spinning in her mother's living room in Brooklyn, pretending she was a swan from the ballet her grandmother had taken her to see. From that moment, dance wasn't just something Jennifer did. It was who she was. It was the language she spoke when words failed. It was her breath, her heartbeat, her reason for existing. While other children played with dolls, Jennifer practiced plies in front of the mirror. While teenagers went to parties, she stayed late at the studio perfecting her fouettes. Dance was never a hobby. It was her destiny, or so she believed. By age 6, her parents enrolled her at the prestigious Academy of Classical Dance in Manhattan, a school known for producing principal dancers for major companies. Jennifer thrived there. She absorbed every correction, practiced until her feet bled, memorized choreography faster than anyone in her class. Her instructors praised her musicality, her discipline, her natural grace. But even then, there were whispers, concerned looks exchanged between teachers when they thought she wasn't watching. Her mother received a phone call when Jennifer was 12, suggesting she might want to monitor her daughter's diet more carefully. Jennifer pretended not to hear her mother crying in the kitchen that night. The truth was that Jennifer's body had always been different from the other girls. She had curves where they had straight lines. She had thick, powerful thighs where they had delicate stems. She had breasts and hips by age 14, while they remained prepubescent well into their teens. Jennifer tried everything. She counted every calorie, skipped meals, ran extra miles, wrapped herself in plastic wrap before rehearsals, hoping to sweat off inches. Nothing worked. Her body stubbornly remained strong, curvy, and according to every ballet company she auditioned for, wrong. Still, Jennifer pushed forward. She earned a full scholarship to the University of the Arts in New York City, where she completed both a bachelor's and master's degree in dance. She studied jazz, tap, contemporary, and her first love, classical ballet. Her thesis on body diversity in classical dance earned her academic honors. But more importantly, it forced her to confront a painful truth. The ballet world didn't want her. Not because she lacked talent, not because she lacked dedication, but because at a size 14, she didn't look like their fantasy of what a ballerina should be. After graduation, the rejection letters piled up. American Ballet Theatre, thank you for your interest, but we're looking for dancers with a more classical physique. New York City, ballet, your technique is commendable, but you're not the right fit for our company. Boston Ballet, have you considered modern dance instead? Each rejection felt like a small death. Each one whispered the same message: you're too fat for this dream. Jennifer started teaching ballet to children at a community center in Queens, telling herself it was temporary. She'd lose the weight, she'd get her break. She just needed to try harder. But then came the audition that changed everything. The Manhattan Ballet Company, a mid-sized but respected company, announced open auditions for their corps de ballet. Jennifer almost didn't go. She'd been rejected so many times that hope had become a dangerous feeling. But something in her refused to quit. She walked into that studio on a cold January morning, her heart pounding. her body humming with the familiar pre-performance adrenaline. She told herself this would be different. This time they would see her talent before they saw her size. The audition was grueling. 2 hours of combinations, across the floor work, and finally a full routine from Swan Lake. Jennifer danced like her life depended on it. She could feel it in her bones. She was nailing every single step. When she finished her variation, she was breathless but exhilarated. For 30 seconds there was silence. Then the artistic director, Marcus Thornton, a severe man in his 60s with ice-cold eyes, stood up from behind the judging table. "What's your name?" he asked. Jennifer's heart soared. He wanted to know her name. "Jennifer Mitchell, sir," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Marcus walked toward her slowly, deliberately. He circled her once, twice, examining her like she was a sculpture in a museum. The other dancers in the room shifted uncomfortably. "You have beautiful technique, Miss Mitchell," he said finally. Jennifer held her breath. Here it comes. The yes she'd been waiting for her entire life. "But ballet is for delicate swans," Marcus continued, his voice growing louder. "Fat girls don't belong on point shoes. You might have the skill, but you certainly don't have the body. Maybe try contemporary dance or plus-size modeling. I'm sure there's a market for that somewhere." The room fell into shocked silence for exactly 3 seconds. Then someone giggled nervously. Then another dancer laughed. Soon, the entire room was filled with the sound of their amusement at her expense. Jennifer stood frozen center stage, the spotlight still on her, feeling like she was being dissected alive. Her face burned with humiliation, her throat closed up. Her carefully maintained composure shattered into a million pieces. She could see the pity in some dancers' eyes, the agreement in others. She could feel every inch of her body being scrutinized, judged, found wanting. Without a word, Jennifer grabbed her dance bag and ran from the theater. She didn't stop running until she reached the subway platform, where she finally collapsed onto a bench and sobbed. That night, Jennifer sat in her tiny studio apartment in Queens, still wearing her leotard under her street clothes. She looked at herself in the mirror, really looked. For the first time in years, her body was strong, her muscles were defined, her posture was perfect. But none of that mattered to Marcus Thornton or anyone like him. She thought about the little girl who used to spin in her mother's living room, dreaming of being a swan. What would she tell that little girl now? That her body betrayed her dreams? That she should have been born different? Jennifer's phone buzzed. Her best friend from graduate school, Maya, a contemporary dancer who had always supported her, had texted, "How'd it go?" Jennifer stared at the message for a long time. She thought about lying. She thought about making excuses. Instead, she typed, "He called me fat in front of everyone and told me to try plus-size modeling." Maya's response was immediate. "What's his name? I'm going to destroy him." Jennifer smiled weakly, but Maya's rage, while comforting, couldn't erase what had happened. Nothing could. For 3 weeks, Jennifer didn't dance. She went through the motions of teaching her children's classes, but her heart wasn't in it. She avoided mirrors. She stopped posting on her dance Instagram account that had a modest following of about 5,000 people. She seriously considered quitting dance altogether. Maybe she could go back to school, learn something practical, become an accountant or a nurse, something where her body wouldn't be constantly scrutinized and found lacking. But every time she thought about giving up, something inside her rebelled, a small, stubborn voice that whispered, "Why should I give up my dream because of his cruelty?" One evening, while scrolling mindlessly through social media, Jennifer came across a video of Misty Copeland, the first black female principal dancer at American Ballet Theatre, talking about body diversity in ballet. Misty spoke about being told she was too muscular, too curvy, too different, but she hadn't quit. She'd pushed forward and changed the entire conversation about what a ballerina's body could look like. Jennifer watched the video 3 times, feeling something crack open inside her chest. It wasn't hope exactly. It was something fiercer. It was anger. Why should men like Marcus Thornton get to define who deserved to dance? The anger started as a simmer and built to a roar. Jennifer couldn't stop thinking about Marcus Thornton's face, his casual cruelty, the laughter that followed his words. She'd spent her entire life trying to make herself smaller, quieter, less visible, trying to apologize for taking up space. But what had that gotten her? Nothing but pain and rejection. That night, Jennifer made a decision. She stopped crying and started planning. If the traditional ballet world wouldn't accept her, she would create her own path. She would dance anyway, not in spite of her body, but in celebration of it. She would become living proof that talent has no size limit. Jennifer began researching everything she could find about body positivity, fat acceptance, and the growing movement of plus-size performers reclaiming space in industries that had excluded them. She discovered entire communities of women who refused to shrink themselves to fit into narrow standards. She read about the history of fat phobia in performing arts, how it was rooted in classism and racism as much as aesthetics. She learned that the ideal ballet body, impossibly thin, white, prepubescent looking, was a relatively recent invention, not some eternal truth. This knowledge was a revelation. It reframed every rejection she'd experienced. It wasn't about her. It was about a broken, biased system. Her first small act of defiance came on a Thursday evening. Jennifer had an intermediate adult ballet class scheduled at the community center. Usually, she taught in yoga pants and a loose t-shirt, hiding her body as much as possible. That night, she wore a proper leotard, tights, and a chiffon skirt. She wore her hair in a classic ballet bun. She looked every inch the ballerina she'd always been, regardless of size. When she walked into the studio, several students did double takes. One woman, Linda, a 50-something accountant who'd returned to ballet after decades away, whispered, "You look beautiful." Jennifer felt her eyes well up, but blinked the tears away. "Thank you," she said. "Today we're going to dance like we deserve to be here, because we do." During that class, something shifted. Jennifer stopped teaching from the sidelines and demonstrated every combination fully. She executed perfect pirouettes, graceful port de bras, powerful jumps. Her students watched in awe. After class, Linda approached her. "I've been taking classes here for 6 months," Linda said quietly. "This is the first time I've seen you really dance. You're incredible. Why have you been hiding?" Jennifer didn't know how to answer that. Because she was ashamed? Because she thought her body made her less than? Because men like Marcus Thornton had convinced her she had no right to take up space? "I'm not hiding anymore," Jennifer finally replied. That same week, an unexpected ally appeared. Jennifer was at a coffee shop near the dance studio, reviewing choreography notes, when a woman approached her table. She was striking, probably in her late 40s, impeccably dressed, with an air of confidence that filled the room. "Excuse me," the woman said. "I couldn't help but notice your ballet notebook. Are you a dancer?" Jennifer hesitated, then nodded. "I'm Diane Foster. I produce events for CurveCon, the plus-size fashion and lifestyle convention. We're planning our 10th annual event in Los Angeles in 3 months. I'm looking for performers who can bring something unique to our main stage. Would you be interested in discussing an opportunity?" Jennifer's first instinct was to say no. Performing at a plus-size convention felt like admitting defeat, like accepting she'd never make it in the real ballet world. But then she remembered her new resolution. She wasn't waiting for permission anymore. "What kind of performance are you looking for?" Jennifer asked. Diane smiled. "Something that challenges expectations. Something that makes people feel seen. From what I can see in your notes, you have classical training. Imagine a plus-size woman dancing Swan Lake on point in front of 3,000 people. Imagine what that would mean to every girl who was told she was too big to be a ballerina." The image stopped Jennifer cold. She thought about the children she taught, especially the curvier girls who always stood in the back corner trying to make themselves invisible. She thought about every woman who'd given up on dance because someone told them their body was wrong. She thought about her younger self, crying on that subway platform. "I'd need complete creative control," Jennifer said. "I choose the choreography. I choose the music. I dance exactly how I want to dance. Diane extended her hand. Deal. Send me your vision by next week. That night, Marcus Thornton struck again, though not in person. Jennifer was scrolling through Instagram when she saw it. A post from the Manhattan Ballet Company's official account. They were celebrating their newest Corps de Ballet members. 8 impossibly thin young women, none over 23 years old, all fitting the same narrow aesthetic. The caption read, "Excellence in classical ballet requires dedication, discipline, and the right physique. Congratulations to our newest swans." Jennifer stared at those words. The right physique. There it was. The quiet cruelty. The gatekeeping disguised as standards. The message that some bodies were simply worth more than others. She almost let it go, almost scrolled past. But then something snapped inside her. Jennifer opened her own Instagram account and began typing. "I was humiliated at an audition recently. The artistic director told me, in front of everyone, that fat girls don't belong on pointe shoes. He suggested I try plus-size modeling instead. I left that audition believing he was right, that my body had betrayed my dreams. But I'm done with that story. I'm done shrinking. I'm done apologizing for taking up space. I'm a classically trained ballerina with 2 degrees and 20 years of experience. My body doesn't disqualify me. It makes me stronger." She attached a video of herself dancing, a clip from her master's thesis performance where she danced a flawless variation from Don Quixote. She'd never posted it before because she was ashamed of how her body looked on camera. Now, she posted it defiantly. "This is what a ballerina looks like," she wrote. "And if you disagree, that says more about your limitations than mine." She hit post before she could second-guess herself, her heart pounding. Then she put her phone down and tried not to think about it. By morning, everything had changed. Jennifer woke to hundreds of notifications. Her post had been shared thousands of times. Comments poured in from all over the world. Women thanking her for her courage. Dancers sharing their own stories of rejection and discrimination. Teachers saying they'd show the video to their students. But there were also cruel comments. Trolls telling her she was promoting obesity. People saying she was playing victim. Someone wrote, "Ballet has standards for a reason. Not everything is about inclusion." Jennifer read every comment, the good and the bad, feeling raw and exposed. But the positive responses far outweighed the negative. Her follower count jumped from 5,000 to 30,000 overnight. Dance magazines reached out for interviews. A producer from a morning talk show wanted to book her. The New York Times dance critic sent a DM asking about her story. Jennifer felt overwhelmed, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. She'd wanted to be seen. Now she was. But being visible meant being vulnerable in ways she hadn't anticipated. It meant opening herself up to both support and attack. Maya called her that afternoon, screaming with excitement, "Jen, you're viral. Do you know what this means? You're changing the conversation." Jennifer wasn't sure what it meant yet. All she knew was that she'd crossed a line. There was no going back to hiding now. She'd claimed her space publicly. She'd told her truth. And somewhere in New York City, she imagined Marcus Thornton seeing her post and realizing she wasn't disappearing quietly. She was rising, loudly. That week, Jennifer made a decision that would change the trajectory of her life. She started taking pointe class again, not in the dark corners of empty studios, but at a real ballet school in Manhattan. She'd been avoiding pointe work for years, convinced that her weight would damage her feet or that she'd look ridiculous. But watching her video go viral made her realize something. People needed to see her dance on pointe, not in grainy cell phone footage, but in full, glorious HD. They needed to see that every body could be strong, graceful, and technically excellent. Her first pointe class back was humbling. Her feet had weakened from disuse. Her ankles wobbled. Her balance was off. But the teacher, a kind older woman named Ruth who'd seen Jennifer's viral post, encouraged her. "Your technique is still there," Ruth said after class. "You just need to rebuild your strength and ignore anyone who tells you you can't do this. I've been teaching for 40 years. I've seen delicate little things who couldn't hold a passe to save their lives, and I've seen powerful women like you who move like goddesses. Your body is built for this." Those words, "Your body is built for this," echoed in Jennifer's mind for days. She'd spent so long thinking of her body as an obstacle, a problem to overcome. What if it had been her greatest asset all along? Her powerful thighs gave her explosive jumps. Her strong core gave her impeccable balance. Her curves gave her movements a sensuality and maturity that younger, thinner dancers couldn't replicate. What if everything she'd been taught was wrong? Jennifer threw herself into preparing for the CurveCon performance. She had 3 months to create something extraordinary. She chose Swan Lake's Black Swan variation, arguably one of the most technically demanding pieces in classical ballet. It required 32 fouettes, lightning-fast footwork, and the dramatic presence of a villain. Most importantly, it required point work. Jennifer rehearsed 6 hours a day, rebuilding her technique, strengthening her feet, perfecting every detail. She filmed herself daily, tracking her progress, holding herself to the highest standards. But self-doubt crept in during the quiet moments. What if she failed? What if she got on that stage in Los Angeles in front of 3,000 people and fell? What if the trolls were right and she was delusional? What if her body really couldn't handle the demands of point work? One particularly bad day, after she'd fallen out of a pirouette for the 10th time, Jennifer sat on her studio floor and cried. She was exhausted. She was scared. She was ready to call Diane and cancel everything. Then her phone rang. It was her mother, calling from Brooklyn. "Jennifer, honey, I just saw your Instagram post. The one about that terrible man at the audition. I need to tell you something." Jennifer's mother's voice cracked. "When you were 12, your ballet teacher called me. She said you were talented, but that I needed to put you on a diet. That if you didn't lose weight, you'd never have a professional career. I listened to her, honey. I monitored your food. I made you feel like your body was a problem. And I'm so sorry. I should have told that teacher that you were perfect exactly as you are." Jennifer listened to her mother cry, feeling the weight of decades of pain and shame lifting. "It's not your fault, Mom," she said. "We both believed what they told us, but I'm not believing it anymore." Her mother was quiet for a moment. "Then neither am I. When's your performance? I'm coming to Los Angeles. I'm going to watch you dance, and I'm going to be the proudest mother in that entire audience." After they hung up, Jennifer stood up, wiped her tears, and started the combination again. This time, she didn't fall. The Los Angeles Convention Center was massive, a sprawling complex of glass and steel that could hold thousands of people. Jennifer arrived 2 days before her performance, ostensibly to rehearse on the actual stage, but really to calm her nerves. She'd never performed in front of a crowd this large. Her Instagram following had grown to over 200,000 in 3 months. The pressure was immense. People weren't just coming to watch a dance performance. They were coming to witness a statement, a revolution, a refusal to be erased. Jennifer felt the weight of all those expectations pressing down on her shoulders. The stage itself was magnificent, 40 feet wide, professionally lit, with a massive LED screen backdrop. Diane had spared no expense. "This is our flagship event," she explained as she gave Jennifer a tour. "We've had musicians, comedians, fashion shows, but we've never had classical ballet. When I saw your video, I knew this was what we needed. You're going to blow their minds." Jennifer practiced her routine on the empty stage. Her point shoes clicking against the polished floor. The acoustics were perfect. Everything was perfect. So why did she feel like she was about to have a panic attack? That evening, Jennifer received a notification that made her blood run cold. Someone had tagged her in a post from the Manhattan Ballet Company's Instagram account. With shaking hands, she opened it. It was a video interview with Marcus Thornton posted just hours ago. The interviewer asked him about the recent controversy surrounding body diversity in ballet. Marcus's response was measured, diplomatic, and deeply condescending. "Look, I have nothing against plus-size women. They're beautiful in their own way, but ballet is an art form with standards that have existed for centuries. Not everyone is built for this level of athleticism." It's not discrimination, it's biology. The comment section was a war zone. Half the people agreed with Marcus, praising him for telling the truth and not giving in to political correctness. The other half was outraged, pointing out his cruelty and calling for him to be fired. Jennifer read every comment, feeling her anger build with each passing second. This man had humiliated her publicly. He'd tried to kill her dream, and now he was on camera, acting like the voice of reason, dismissing her pain as controversy. He'd given interviews. He'd made himself the victim, and worst of all, the Manhattan Ballet Company was standing by him. Jennifer's phone rang. It was Diane. "Have you seen the video?" Diane asked. "Yes," Jennifer replied, her voice tight. "I want to address it in my performance," Jennifer said suddenly. "Not directly, but I want people to know who I'm dancing for and who I'm dancing against." Diane was quiet for a moment. "What did you have in mind?" Jennifer outlined her idea quickly. Before her Black Swan variation, she wanted to give a short speech, no more than 2 minutes, just enough to frame what the audience was about to witness. "It's risky," Diane said. "It makes it explicitly political." "It already is political," Jennifer replied. "Just by existing in a leotard on that stage, I'm making a political statement. I might as well own it." The night before the performance, Jennifer couldn't sleep. She kept rehearsing her speech in her head, revising it, questioning every word. She thought about backing out. She could just dance and let the performance speak for itself. But then she remembered every girl who'd ever been told she was too big to be a ballerina. Every woman who'd given up on her dreams because someone convinced her that her body disqualified her. Every person who'd ever felt like they had to shrink themselves to deserve love, respect, or opportunity. She wasn't just dancing for herself anymore. She was dancing for all of them. Performance day arrived with surreal clarity. Jennifer woke at 6 a.m., her body humming with adrenaline. She did a light workout, stretched for an hour, ate a careful breakfast. Her mother arrived at her hotel room at noon with flowers and tears in her eyes. "You look so beautiful, baby," her mother said, hugging her tightly. "You always have." Maya arrived next, carrying emergency sewing supplies, hairspray, and enough encouragement for an army. "You're about to make history," Maya said. "Are you ready?" Jennifer looked at herself in the mirror. She was wearing a simple black tutu, her hair in a perfect bun, her makeup dramatic and stage ready. She looked like every ballerina she'd ever admired. "I'm ready," she said. The convention center was packed. 3,000 people filled the main hall, and according to Diane, another 50,000 were watching the live stream online. Jennifer stood backstage, breathing slowly, centering herself. She could hear the crowd's energy, excited, supportive, electric. These were her people, women who'd been told they were too much or not enough, women who'd been excluded and dismissed, women who were done apologizing. When the stage manager gave her the 5-minute warning, Jennifer closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "This is what a ballerina looks like." The lights dimmed. Jennifer walked onto the stage in darkness. When the spotlight hit her, the crowd erupted. Applause, cheers, screams of support. Jennifer stood in the center of the stage, feeling the weight of 3,000 gazes on her body. For a moment, she was transported back to that audition with Marcus Thornton, standing under a spotlight while people laughed at her. But this time was different. This time, she had chosen to be here. This time, she was in control. "Thank you," she said into her microphone, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. "Thank you for being here." 3 months ago, I stood in an audition room in New York City, Jennifer began. I had just performed a technically perfect variation from Swan Lake, and the artistic director told me, in front of dozens of people, that fat girls don't belong on pointe shoes. He told me to try plus-size modeling instead. I left that audition believing my dream was dead, believing that my body had betrayed me. The crowd was completely silent now, hanging on every word. But then something changed. I got angry. I realized that men like him don't get to define what's possible for women like me, for women like us. So tonight, I'm not dancing in spite of my body. Jennifer continued. I'm dancing in celebration of it, every curve, every inch, every ounce of power and grace and strength. And I'm dancing for every person who was ever told they were too big, too much, too different to deserve their dreams. This is what a ballerina looks like, and it looks like me. It looks like us. The crowd exploded. Women were on their feet, crying, cheering, screaming their support. Jennifer felt tears streaming down her face. This is the Black Swan variation from Swan Lake, she said. It's one of the most technically demanding pieces in classical ballet. Watch me do it on point, and then tell me again that my body doesn't belong in this art form. The music began, Tchaikovsky's iconic, haunting melody. Jennifer took her starting position, every muscle in her body coiled and ready, and then she danced. Every step was perfection, every turn was razor-sharp, every jump was explosive. Her 32 fouettes were executed flawlessly, her leg whipping around with mechanical precision, while her standing leg remained completely stable on point. The audience counted along, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. When she finished the final turn and struck her ending pose, the crowd lost their minds. The applause was deafening. Jennifer stood on that stage, breathing hard, her heart racing, tears pouring down her face. She had done it. She had proved every doubter wrong. She had shown the world that excellence has no size requirement. As she took her bows, she saw her mother in the front row, sobbing. She saw Maya with her phone out, recording everything. She saw 3,000 women seeing themselves reflected in her. This was what representation felt like. This was what revolution felt like. Backstage, Jennifer was mobbed. Dancers, performers, attendees, all wanting to hug her, thank her, tell her their stories. A teenage girl, maybe 16, approached shyly. I quit ballet 2 years ago because my teacher said I was too heavy, the girl said, crying. But watching you, I think I want to try again. Jennifer pulled the girl into a hug. Don't let anyone steal your joy, she whispered. Dance because it makes you feel alive. Dance because you deserve to. The girl nodded, still crying, and walked away looking lighter somehow. Diane found Jennifer an hour later, still surrounded by well-wishers. Jennifer, you need to see this, Diane said, showing her phone. The video of Jennifer's performance was already viral. It had been viewed over 2 million times in the past hour. Major news outlets were covering it. Dance magazines were writing think pieces. And most importantly, the Manhattan Ballet Company's social media was being flooded with comments demanding they apologize to Jennifer and reconsider their discriminatory practices. You've started something, Diane said. This isn't going away. That night, Jennifer checked her Instagram. Her follower count had jumped to over 1 million. Her DMs were flooded with thousands of messages. Most were supportive, but some were cruel. People saying she was promoting unhealthy lifestyles. People claiming she was destroying the integrity of ballet. And then she saw it. A comment from an account she didn't recognize, but the vitriol was familiar. You'll never be a real ballerina. This plus-size pandering is embarrassing. True artists maintain their bodies. Jennifer hovered over the delete button, then she changed her mind. Let them scream into the void. She had nothing left to prove, but the universe had one more twist in store. At midnight, Jennifer received an email. It was from the New York Times. They were publishing an exposé on the Manhattan Ballet Company's hiring practices. Multiple former dancers had come forward with stories of eating disorders encouraged by staff, weight-based harassment, and discriminatory audition processes. Marcus Thornton was named specifically. The article was scheduled to run in 2 days. The subject line read, "Would you be willing to go on record about your experience?" Jennifer stared at her laptop screen for a long time. Going on record meant attaching her name and face to this story permanently. It meant opening herself up to even more scrutiny and attacks. It meant stepping fully into the role of activist, not just performer. But it also meant ensuring that what happened to her wouldn't happen to the next girl. It meant holding Marcus Thornton accountable for the damage he'd caused. Jennifer typed out her response. "Yes, I'll tell my story. Every word of it." The New York Times article dropped on a Tuesday morning and sent shockwaves through the ballet world. "Manhattan Ballet Company accused of systematic body discrimination," read the headline. Jennifer's story was featured prominently, along with testimonies from 8 other dancers spanning 2 decades. Marcus Thornton's patterns of cruelty were laid bare. The public weigh-ins, the humiliating comments, the young dancers who'd developed eating disorders under his watch. By noon, 3 major donors had pulled their funding from the company. By evening, the board of directors had issued a statement placing Marcus on administrative leave pending an investigation. Jennifer watched it all unfold from her apartment in Queens, feeling surreal. She'd expected backlash, but she hadn't expected the ballet establishment to actually respond. Dance magazine ran an editorial calling for industry-wide reforms. The American Ballet Theatre issued a statement committing to evaluating our casting and hiring practices through an equity lens. Even the School of American Ballet, one of the most prestigious institutions in the country, announced they were revising their admission requirements to remove weight restrictions. Jennifer had lit a match. The ballet world was burning down its old prejudices, or at least it was trying to. The attention was overwhelming. Jennifer received interview requests from every major media outlet. Good Morning America wanted her on for a segment. Netflix reached out about a possible documentary. TEDx invited her to give a talk on body diversity in the arts. Fashion brands wanted to sponsor her. Dance companies, ironically including several that had rejected her years ago, sent offers for guest performances. Jennifer felt like she was drowning in opportunities, while simultaneously not knowing who she was anymore. She'd spent her whole life trying to be accepted by the ballet world. Now that they wanted her, she wasn't sure she wanted them back. Maya helped her sort through it all. "You don't owe anyone anything," Maya reminded her one evening over wine in Jennifer's tiny apartment. "You can say yes to what feels right and no to everything else. You're in control now." Jennifer appreciated that, but control felt like an illusion. She'd unleashed something bigger than herself. The conversation about body diversity in dance wasn't going to end just because she was tired. She had a responsibility to the movement she'd helped start. But she also had a responsibility to herself, to figure out what she actually wanted from her life now. What she wanted, Jennifer realized, was to dance, not to prove a point, not to make a statement, just to dance because it brought her joy. So she made a decision. She would accept select interviews and speaking engagements, but she would dedicate most of her time to what mattered, performing and teaching. She partnered with Diane to create a series of dance workshops at CurveCon events across the country. She developed an online course called Ballet for Everybody that attracted thousands of students. And she started choreographing new work, pieces that centered plus-size dancers, that celebrated the beauty and power of diverse bodies in motion. 6 months after her viral performance, Jennifer made another bold move. She applied for a grant to open her own dance studio in Brooklyn. Not just any studio, a space specifically designed to be inclusive and welcoming to dancers of all sizes, ages, races, and abilities. She called it Boundless Ballet, and her mission statement was simple: dance is for everybody, no exceptions. The grant application required her to outline her vision, her qualifications, her business plan. Writing it felt like drawing a map to a future she'd never dared to imagine for herself. The physical transformation Jennifer underwent wasn't about weight loss. It was about presence. She started dressing differently, carrying herself differently. She wore bold colors and form-fitting clothes that celebrated her curves rather than hiding them. She got a new haircut, invested in professional photos, built a brand around her authentic self. Not the self that was trying to shrink and apologize, but the self that took up space unapologetically. She posted videos of herself dancing in sports bras and leggings, her soft belly visible, her thick thighs powerful. "This is what strength looks like," she captioned one video. It got 5 million views, but the transformation wasn't just external. Internally, Jennifer was rebuilding her relationship with her body and with dance. She started therapy to process decades of trauma around food, weight, and self-worth. She joined support groups for performers dealing with body image issues. She practiced affirmations daily. "My body is worthy. My body is capable. My body is beautiful exactly as it is." Some days, she believed it. Other days, she had to fake it. But slowly, painfully, she was healing the wounds that Marcus Thornton and people like him had inflicted. During this time of transformation, something unexpected happened. A Broadway producer named Stefan reached out. He was developing a new musical about body positivity and self-acceptance, and he wanted Jennifer to choreograph the dance sequences and possibly perform in the show. "I saw your Black Swan performance," Stefan told her over coffee in Manhattan. "You understand something that most choreographers don't, how to make movement feel simultaneously vulnerable and powerful. I need that for this show." Jennifer was hesitant. Broadway was a whole different world from ballet, but Stefan's passion was infectious, and the show's message aligned with everything she believed in. She took the job. Over the next few months, Jennifer immersed herself in the world of musical theater. She created dance numbers that featured performers of all sizes, showing them as sexy, athletic, graceful, and strong. The rehearsal process was challenging but joyful. The cast adored her. The producer gave her creative freedom she'd never experienced before. And most surprisingly, Jennifer discovered she loved choreographing even more than performing. She loved building movement from scratch, shaping stories through bodies, giving dancers the gift of being seen in their full humanity. As all of this unfolded, Jennifer received periodic updates about Marcus Thornton. The investigation had concluded, confirming multiple instances of harassment and discriminatory practices. He'd been fired from the Manhattan Ballet Company without severance. His reputation in the dance world was destroyed. Several dancers he'd harmed were pursuing legal action. Jennifer felt complicated about it. She wasn't glad that his life had fallen apart, but she was glad that he could no longer hurt anyone else. She was glad that there were consequences for cruelty. She was glad that she'd spoken up. One afternoon, 9 months after her viral performance, Jennifer received a handwritten letter in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was shaky and formal. She opened it carefully. "Dear Miss Mitchell," it began, "I am writing to apologize for my inexcusable behavior at your audition. My comments were cruel, unprofessional, and wrong. I allowed my personal biases to cloud my judgment, and in doing so, I failed you and countless other talented dancers. I am deeply ashamed. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I recognize the harm I caused. Sincerely, Marcus Thornton." Jennifer read the letter 3 times. She showed it to Maya, to her mother, to her therapist. Everyone had different reactions. Maya thought it was a self-serving attempt to rehab his image. Her mother thought it took courage to admit wrongdoing. Her therapist asked what Jennifer thought. Jennifer sat with that question for days. She wasn't sure what she thought. The letter didn't undo the damage. It didn't erase the years of pain and self-doubt. But it was something. It was acknowledgement. It was a tiny step toward accountability in an industry that rarely demanded it from powerful men. Jennifer didn't respond to the letter. She didn't owe Marcus Thornton closure or forgiveness, but she did file it away, a small artifact of this chapter of her life. What mattered more than his apology was what she was building, a legacy that would outlast any individual person's cruelty. Her dance studio grant was approved. Boundless Ballet would open in 6 months. She'd already received hundreds of inquiries from prospective students, people who'd been turned away from other studios because of their size, age, or ability, people who'd given up on dance and wanted to try again, people who needed to see themselves reflected in their teacher. During the studio planning process, Jennifer made intentional design choices. The mirrors would only cover one wall, not all four, so students wouldn't feel constantly surveilled by their own reflection. The ballet bars would be at multiple heights to accommodate different body types. The dress code would be flexible, no mandatory leotards and tights. Students could wear what made them feel comfortable and confident. And most importantly, there would be no weigh-ins, no body measurements, no comments about weight or size. The only requirement was showing up and trying. Jennifer also made a decision about romantic relationships. She'd been single for years, convinced that no one would want to date a fat woman, especially not a fat dancer. But as her confidence grew, she started putting herself out there. She joined dating apps, went on dates, allowed herself to be vulnerable. Most dates were mediocre. Some were terrible, but then she met someone, Ava, a physical therapist who specialized in working with dancers. Ava was kind, funny, and absolutely unbothered by Jennifer's size. "You're gorgeous," Ava said on their third date. "And watching you move is like watching poetry. I'm kind of obsessed with you." Jennifer cried when Ava said that. Happy tears, overwhelmed tears, healing tears. For so long, she'd believed that her body made her unlovable, that she had to earn affection by becoming smaller. But here was Ava, seeing her exactly as she was and celebrating it. Their relationship deepened slowly, carefully. Ava came to Jennifer's rehearsals and performances. Jennifer supported Ava's work with injured dancers. They built something real, something tender, something that had nothing to do with Jennifer's size and everything to do with who she was as a person. The Broadway show opened to rave reviews. Critics praised Jennifer's choreography as innovative, emotionally resonant, and a celebration of bodies in motion. One reviewer wrote, "In a theater landscape that still defaults to conventional beauty standards, Jennifer Mitchell's work is revolutionary. She doesn't just include diverse bodies in her choreography, she centers them, celebrates them, shows them as powerful and sensual and human." The show ran for 6 months, and Jennifer won several awards for her work. More importantly, she inspired a generation of young choreographers to think differently about casting and movement. Throughout all of this, the success, the recognition, the opportunities, Jennifer stayed grounded by remembering where she'd come from. She visited schools in low-income neighborhoods to teach free dance workshops. She mentored young plus-size dancers, navigating hostile training environments. She used her platform to advocate for systemic changes in dance education and professional companies. She wrote op-eds about body diversity. She testified before arts funding committees about the need for inclusive programming. She became, whether she wanted to be or not, a leader in a movement that was transforming how the dance world understood bodies and beauty. 1 year after her viral performance, Jennifer stood in the empty space that would become Boundless Ballet. The floors were installed, the mirrors were up, the sound system was ready. In 2 weeks, she would teach her first class here. She would welcome students who'd been rejected by the traditional ballet world. She would teach them that their bodies were not obstacles, but instruments. She would give them what she'd spent years searching for, permission to take up space. As she stood in the center of the studio, Jennifer did a single pirouette, her arms extended, her face tilted toward the ceiling. She was home. Boundless Ballet's grand opening was covered by local news outlets, dance publications, and even a segment on NPR. Jennifer had expected maybe 50 people to show up for the open house. 300 came. They packed the studio, spilling out into the hallway. People of every size, age, and background, all eager to be part of something that told them they belonged. Jennifer gave a short speech, her voice breaking with emotion. "This space exists because someone once told me I was too fat to dance. But I'm standing here today as proof that cruelty doesn't have the last word. You do. Your joy does. Your persistence does. Welcome home." The first class was magical chaos. Jennifer taught basic ballet technique to a room full of beginners and returning dancers. A woman in her 60s who hadn't danced since her 20s. a teenager who'd been bullied out of her previous studio, a man who'd always wanted to try ballet but felt excluded by its traditionally feminine culture, a mother and daughter taking class together, both plus size, both reclaiming something they'd been told wasn't theirs. Jennifer moved through the room, offering gentle corrections, praising effort over perfection, reminding them that their bodies were capable of beauty and strength. When she demonstrated a combination, executing a perfect relevé passé, she heard gasps, not of shock at her size, but of recognition. Here was proof that their dreams weren't foolish. After class, students lingered for nearly 2 hours. They wanted to talk, to share their stories, to express what this space meant to them. A woman named Diane, not the CurveCon producer, but a different Diane, pulled Jennifer aside with tears streaming down her face. "I'm 47 years old," Diane said. "I did ballet as a child and loved it. But when I hit puberty and gained weight, my teacher told my mother I should quit. That was 30 years ago, and I haven't danced since. Today, for the first time in 3 decades, I remembered what joy feels like." Jennifer hugged her tightly, feeling the weight of responsibility and privilege. She was giving people back pieces of themselves that had been stolen. That was sacred work. Within 6 months, Boundless Ballet became more than a studio. It became a movement hub. Jennifer expanded to offer classes 7 days a week, morning through evening. She hired 3 additional instructors, all dancers who understood what it meant to be excluded and chose to create inclusion instead. She started a scholarship program for students who couldn't afford tuition. She created a youth intensive program for teenagers serious about pursuing dance professionally, giving them the rigorous training they deserved without the body shaming that usually accompanied it. Local news channels did feature stories. Dance magazine published a profile calling Boundless Ballet, the future of inclusive dance education. But perhaps the most meaningful validation came from unexpected places. Jennifer started receiving emails from ballet teachers across the country, not students, but teachers. Veteran instructors who'd spent decades perpetuating harmful standards were writing to say they were changing their approaches because of her. One email from a woman named Patricia in Ohio read, "I've been teaching ballet for 40 years. I've said terrible things to students about their weight. I justified it as maintaining standards. Your work has shown me that I was simply perpetuating trauma. I'm 72 years old and I'm learning to teach differently. Thank you for not giving up on this art form, even when it gave up on you." Jennifer saved every single one of those emails. They reminded her that change was possible, even in institutions and individuals that seemed permanently rigid. People could unlearn cruelty. Systems could evolve. It wouldn't happen overnight, and it wouldn't be easy, but it was happening. Every teacher who stopped making weight-based comments, every studio that revised its dress code, every company that cast based on talent rather than size, these were small revolutions. And collectively, they were transforming the landscape of American dance. The following spring, Jennifer received an invitation that stopped her in her tracks. The Manhattan Ballet Company's new artistic director, a progressive woman named Patricia Chen, who'd been brought in specifically to reform the organization's toxic culture, wanted to meet with her. Jennifer's first instinct was to refuse. That company represented everything that had hurt her. Marcus Thornton might be gone, but the institution remained. Why would she give them her time or energy? But curiosity won out. She agreed to a meeting at a neutral location, a cafe in Midtown Manhattan, far from the theater that haunted her memories. Patricia Chen was nothing like Marcus Thornton. She was in her early 50s, with kind eyes and an air of genuine humility. She didn't waste time with small talk. "I know what happened to you in our theater," Patricia began. "I've read the investigation reports. I've spoken to other dancers Marcus harmed. I want you to know that I consider what happened to you institutional failure, not just one man's cruelty. The board hired me specifically to rebuild this company's culture and reputation. And I believe the only way to do that authentically is to bring in artists who represent the change we claim to want. I want to offer you a commission to choreograph a world premiere for our upcoming season." Jennifer sat back in her chair, processing. A commission from the Manhattan Ballet Company, one of the most prestigious opportunities in American dance. 5 years ago, she would have done anything for this. Now, she wasn't sure she wanted it. "Why me?" she asked. Patricia met her eyes steadily. "Because you're brilliant. Because your work challenges the way we think about bodies and movement. And because having you create art in the space where you were humiliated would send a powerful message about accountability and transformation. I can't undo what Marcus did to you, but I can offer you a platform to rewrite the narrative in that building." Jennifer took 3 weeks to decide. She consulted everyone: Ava, Maya, her mother, her therapist, her dancers. The consensus was mixed. Some thought she should refuse on principle, that institutions didn't deserve forgiveness just because they fired their worst offenders. Others saw it as a strategic opportunity to change the company from the inside. Jennifer's therapist asked the most helpful question: what would bring you peace? And Jennifer realized the answer wasn't about the Manhattan Ballet Company at all. It was about her relationship with that theater, that stage, that memory. Could she transform the site of her worst humiliation into a place of triumph? Could she exorcise that ghost? She called Patricia. "I'll do it, but I have non-negotiable conditions. The piece must feature at least 3 plus-size dancers in principal roles, cast from my studio or other sources I approve. All casting decisions must prioritize artistry and technique, with absolutely no consideration of body size. I want a clause in my contract guaranteeing that my dancers will be treated with respect, with no weigh-ins, no body comments, no diet culture. And I want the company to commit publicly to revising its hiring and audition practices to prohibit size-based discrimination. These terms aren't up for negotiation." Patricia agreed without hesitation. "Done. When can you start?" Creating a ballet for the Manhattan Ballet Company while running Boundless Ballet and maintaining her other commitments was the most intense creative period of Jennifer's life. She titled the piece Emergence, a contemporary ballet about transformation, resilience, and the courage to take up space unapologetically. The score was original, composed by a young artist named Jordan who specialized in blending classical and electronic elements. The choreography drew from ballet's vocabulary but exploded its constraints, featuring powerful jumps, sensual partnering, and moments of raw vulnerability. And at its center were 3 plus-size women dancing roles, typically reserved for the industry's thinnest performers. Casting was an emotional process. Jennifer held auditions at Boundless Ballet, and over 60 dancers showed up. Women who'd spent years being told they weren't good enough, finally seeing a door open. Jennifer chose carefully. Rachel, the young woman who'd laughed at her audition years ago and had since transformed into a powerful dancer and advocate. Keisha, a 28-year-old with 15 years of training who'd never been cast in a principal role because of her size. And Monica, a veteran dancer in her late 30s who'd been fired from a regional company when she gained weight during pregnancy. These 3 women would make history as the first plus-size principal dancers the Manhattan Ballet Company had ever featured. Rehearsals began in August, 4 months before the December premiere. From the first day, Jennifer watched the company dancers carefully. Would they respect her authority? Would they treat her dancers with professionalism? The answer was mostly yes. Patricia had done her work. Dancers who couldn't adapt to the new culture had left or been let go. The remaining company members were curious, professional, and in several cases genuinely inspired by Jennifer's choreography. Still, there were moments of tension. Jennifer overheard one male dancer complaining that he didn't sign up for political choreography. She addressed him directly. Art is always political. The question is whether it upholds oppressive systems or challenges them. If you're not interested in the latter, there are plenty of other companies happy to maintain the status quo. As opening night approached, Jennifer felt the familiar pre-performance anxiety amplified by the weight of what this meant. This wasn't just a ballet premiere, it was a statement about who deserved space on prestigious stages. It was a test of whether institutions could genuinely change. It was her return to the scene of her trauma, but this time as the one in control. The week before the premiere, the New York Times published a feature article titled, "Can Ballet Change? One Choreographer is Forcing the Question." The piece detailed Jennifer's journey from humiliated auditionee to acclaimed choreographer, framing emergence as a watershed moment in American dance. The night before opening, Jennifer brought her 3 principal dancers to the theater after everyone else had left. They stood together on the empty stage, the ghost light casting long shadows. "Tomorrow, when this theater is full, remember that you earned this," Jennifer told them. "Not despite your bodies, but because of your artistry, your discipline, your passion, you belong here. You've always belonged here. Tomorrow, we prove it to everyone who said otherwise." Rachel squeezed Jennifer's hand. "I never thought I'd dance on this stage," she whispered. "Thank you for making it possible." Jennifer felt tears prick her eyes. "You made it possible by not giving up. I'm just honored to be part of your journey." Opening night arrived cold and clear, the kind of December evening where New York City feels magical and unforgiving in equal measure. The theater filled with an unprecedented mix of audience members, traditional ballet patrons alongside body-positive activists, dance critics alongside social justice advocates, children from Boundless Ballet alongside Manhattan society elites. Jennifer stood in the wings, watching the crowd settle, feeling her heart pound. In the front row sat her mother, Ava, and Maya. Scattered throughout were dancers from her studio, former students, and people whose lives had been touched by her work. And somewhere in that audience, Jennifer knew, were young plus-size dancers, seeing themselves represented on one of America's most prestigious stages for the first time. The lights dimmed. The music began, Jordan's haunting electronic strings filling the space. Jennifer's dancers took their opening positions, and then they moved. The choreography was stunning, athletic and lyrical, classical and contemporary, celebrating bodies as instruments of expression rather than objects to be judged. When Rachel executed a series of fouettes that would challenge any dancer regardless of size, the audience gasped. When Keisha and her partner performed a pas de deux that was both technically demanding and sensually charged, someone actually shouted, "Yes!" When Monica danced a solo about maternal strength and transformation, grown adults wept openly. The 20-minute ballet flew by. When the final image resolved, all 3 principal dancers standing center stage, arms raised, claiming their space, the audience erupted. The standing ovation lasted for 12 minutes. Critics would later call it a triumph of artistry over convention, a necessary evolution in American ballet, and proof that excellence exists in bodies of all sizes. But what mattered most to Jennifer were the faces she saw in the crowd, young dancers, tears streaming, watching their futures expand in real time. This was what representation could do. This was why the fight mattered. After the performance, Jennifer and her dancers were surrounded by well-wishers, reporters, and company members offering congratulations. Patricia Chen found Jennifer in the chaos. "Thank you," Patricia said simply. "You've given this company something we desperately needed, a conscience and a future." Jennifer nodded, accepting the gratitude, but knowing the real work was just beginning. One successful ballet didn't erase decades of discrimination, but it was a start. It was proof that change was possible, and it gave the next generation of choreographers permission to imagine differently. Later that night, after the crowds had dispersed and the theater had emptied, Jennifer stood alone on the stage where Marcus Thornton had humiliated her 6 years earlier. She did a single, perfect pirouette in street clothes, her arms extended, her face tilted toward the ceiling. The ghost was exorcised. The trauma was transformed. The girl who'd run from this theater crying had become the woman who'd changed it forever. Jennifer smiled to herself in the darkness. She'd won. Not because she'd destroyed her enemies or achieved conventional success, but because she'd refused to let cruelty define her story. She'd rewritten the ending, and in doing so, she'd given countless others permission to rewrite theirs. The success of Emergence created ripples throughout the dance world. Other companies began commissioning choreographers, known for inclusive casting. Dance schools revised their mission statements to explicitly welcome students of all sizes. Dancewear companies started producing a wider range of sizes. Professional organizations created guidelines against size-based discrimination. It wasn't a revolution, not yet, but it was evolution. And Jennifer had been the catalyst. Her work proved that audiences would embrace diverse bodies in classical forms, that ticket sales didn't depend on maintaining harmful standards, that art could expand to include everyone without losing its rigor or beauty. The business case for inclusion became undeniable. 6 months after the premiere, Jennifer received an email that brought everything full circle. It was from a woman named Sophie, who wrote, "You don't know me, but you changed my life. I'm 11 years old. I'm plus size and I love ballet. My teacher told me I should quit because I'll never be a professional dancer. But then my mom showed me videos of you and your dances. We drove 4 hours to see Emergence. When I saw those women dancing on that stage, I decided I'm not quitting. I'm going to be a ballerina. And someday I'm going to dance in a company that sees my talent instead of just my size. Thank you for showing me that's possible." Jennifer read the email 3 times, crying. This was why everything had happened, so that girls like Sophie would have a different story, so that the next generation wouldn't have to fight as hard for space that should have always been theirs. Jennifer wrote back, "Dear Sophie, you're already a ballerina, not someday, right now. Your body is perfect exactly as it is. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Keep dancing. The world needs your art." Jennifer Mitchell's journey from humiliated dancer to celebrated choreographer isn't just her story. It's a roadmap for anyone who's been told they're too much or not enough. She didn't change her body to fit ballet's narrow standards. She changed ballet to include bodies like hers. She transformed institutional cruelty into systemic change. She turned her deepest pain into her most powerful purpose. Your body is not your limitation. Your body is your instrument. And every instrument deserves to make music. Don't wait for permission to claim your space. Don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Your dreams are valid exactly as you are. If this story moved you, leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Subscribe for more stories of women who refuse to be small. Your story matters, your voice matters, you matter. I'll see you in the next one.